Hello everyone, today we will be discussing Powered by the Apocalypse games, with the hope of making them a little bit more accessible to new players. Starting off, as for what Powered by the Apocalypse or PBTA is, it is, in the broadest sense, a type of game that gives significant amounts of narrative control to the players. From there, it can be a little bit more complicated with each individual designer's own interpretations, so we're gonna just leave it at that for now. As for how these games give so much narrative control to players, there are two major aspects. One is that most players have total control over their characters. The second is that something called moves, which replace actions, tend to allow players to make choices about the positive and negative outcomes of their actions. So, starting off, the total character control might seem like a fairly common TTRPG concept, but Powered by the Apocalypse tends to take it a little bit further. The simplest way I can describe it is, the GM can put you in a situation, but you say why you're in that situation. An example of this would be waking up alone in a cave surrounded by corpses while wearing only a hat. Why are you there? Where's your stuff? What happened? The players can answer these questions, the GM just sets the scene, and I don't know is as valid an answer as, oh yeah, this was me getting drunk last night. So, similarly, if your best friend suddenly tries to stab you, you, the player, get to say why that's happening. The GM just has your friend try to stab you. It's your character, and you control why their life is like this. The GM just gets to throw you some curveballs on what happens. As for the second part, moves have significant choice in the result of their actions moves give players significant choice in the results of their actions. Moves typically come in tiers of success, those being failure, partial success, and success. It is not uncommon for each tier to come with a list of options to choose from, and it varies from game to game on whether or not the player or the GM gets to decide on what the failure results are. This sometimes lets players define both their failures and successes, which lead to players controlling their stories better. It also does away with binary fail-succeed options. Again, sometimes with a full success giving you a variety of possible results. Now that we've, kind of gone over the broadest strokes of what Powered by the Apocalypse is, I thought we'd want to discuss some common tropes. These tropes are playbooks, uniqueness of characters, to do it, and play to find out. Starting off, playbooks are a common, although not guaranteed, feature of Powered by the Apocalypse games. They serve as a kind of character class with a bit more theming. Where a class might give you a set of powers in some games, a playbook gives you a narrative role. It serves as a guide to the role that you'd play in the story, similar to a character archetype when writing a book or movie. Being a certain playbook doesn't necessarily define your personality, but it can define a lot about how you fit into the story. Some games even go so far as to have vastly different scales to focus on in playbooks. The second edition of Apocalypse World Engine, the game Apocalypse World Engine being the founder of Powered by the Apocalypse, had some players go as far as to control entire cities or gangs, while others were just single entities living their lives. The struggles and goals of these different styles may overlap thematically at times, or be entirely different. Not unlike how a story might have a king, a gang leader, and a knight all be characters, in Apocalypse World Engine a game may have a hardhold, a chopper, and a gunlugger. And with playbooks comes another feature, which is uniqueness. Uniqueness is very common in Powered by the Apocalypse games, whether or not they use playbooks. It is not uncommon for a game to say, only one person gets this ability or special focus. Only one player may take a unique ability or playbook in many Powered by the Apocalypse games. This does mean that people do have to discuss very carefully what they want to do because some things overlap, but no two things are identical. It also serves to make characters rely on each other for their unique abilities, as no one can be a true jack of all trades. It also means that no one has to worry about being sidelined by someone else taking their shtick. Sure, a gunlugger might be able to get a gang eventually, but they are not built around having a gang. That is the chopper's territory. A major concept in Powered by the Apocalypse that can be misconstrued in some of the earlier games in this style is the concept of to do it, our next topic. Moves are meant to be mechanical back end to the story you're telling. Broadly speaking, players shouldn't be worried about triggering a dice roll. They should do what they would do naturally as a character. In the spirit of, and from that spirit comes the concept of to do it, do it. Don't ask if you could heal a person or check for traps. Say you take out bandages and dress the wound, or that you throw rocks across the floor to check for pressure plates. As for the misconception here, some people early on in the development of early Powered by the Apocalypse games misconstrued this as don't say the name of the move due to some poor wording in Apocalypse World Engine itself. But what this really means is focus on the fiction. Don't worry about the dice at all. Don't worry about triggering them or not. The GM will tell you when they matter. And when they do come up, it will be because of what's going on in the story, not because you asked to see what you could do and were told to roll. Lastly is the concept of play to find out. This is fairly simple in and of itself, and it's not necessarily universal, and not even necessarily unique to Powered by the Apocalypse. It's just a style of sandbox play. In short, play as long as it's fun and the story is interesting to you. The world is a sandbox, and when you feel that a character or a setting has come to an end, feel free to retire them and start something new. Keep telling stories until you feel like you've found out enough. And honestly, with that, again, this is a broad overview of Powered by the Apocalypse. The scope of the games is all over the place with different themes and settings and concepts and experimentation from a variety of different authors and talented game designers. But I would like to hope that this has made some people interested in the style of game and a little bit less intimidated if you've approached them and been like, I don't know. I do know from a first-hand experience that the style in which these games are written can seem very strange and take a couple of read-throughs to kind of get to click. That said, sometimes it's just a matter of finding the right Powered by the Apocalypse game for you. Some of the newer ones do a better job of explaining themselves and can retroactively help explain how other older Powered by the Apocalypse games work. So with that all said, this has been Oscar C. Tango of Strategy Publishing, and I hope you all enjoy your future gaming.